All right, I'm trying quick.
We're live. Right, hello everyone. We were just saying I can't believe it's Tuesday again. That week just went in a flash. It's mad. How are you, mate?
I'm good. Welcome everyone. What number is this, Nick?
93, I believe.
Bloody hell.
Yeah.
93. Welcome to episode 93 of the Tat Chat. Whoop, bugger. Okay.
What's up?
Just sorting out the chat and it played the video. So
Okay.
my mistake.
That old chestnut. Right, I've
Yeah.
got the chat open. Let me scroll back. BCP was first in. I did actually set the time up on this video to past somehow. I just clicked the wrong time. So I hope nobody, people aren't missing the start because of my timing. I did put a message in there. We've got Gary in there, Chelsea, Panzer. Hi guys. Jason, Adrian. Adrian says, ooh, interesting topic. Well, we'll get onto that in a minute, obviously. But yeah, we were organized. We had a chat. We came up with a
topic. Yeah.
Quite impressed. Hi, Lisa. Twin Red Dragons. Lucy. Lots of the regulars in there having a chat, which is always good to see. Let me scroll to the bottom so I'm up to date. There's Karen. I don't know if your CDs have got to you yet. Peter, Malinky. Wow, lots of people. Electronic Firing Squad. Nick's weeding out the newbies from the true fans with fake start time.
Is that what it was? A devious plan to see who comes in?
Well, I'm afraid I'm not that clever. I just messed it up. I could pretend I'm being sneaky and clever, but nobody believed me. Okay. So, yeah, I think we're all set. I came up with this topic for two reasons. I put out it was our last Sunday video, was a haul that I don't know if you've seen that one here, where we shared the stuff we got at that jumble.
Yeah, I did.
Which was fill a bag. And I was very open about the fact that I went straight to the media table and took whatever I could get in the bag, basically cleared the table. And the comment seems to have vanished. I don't know if they've retracted it or taken it away. I certainly didn't delete it. Somebody commented and said that, I can't remember how they worded it, but they were really questioning whether that was a good thing to do, whether that was morally acceptable kind of thing. Just go in there and clear everything. And I replied and said, well, there were plenty of people behind me that were itching to do exactly the same thing. Not that that makes it right or wrong. And there was a lady there who's into shoes. She went over and just cleared out everything in the shoes that was of any value. And other people were doing the same thing with toys and games. It was a feeding frenzy. And whether that makes it right or not is not for me to say, but I thought it brought up a really interesting discussion. What are your thoughts initially on that specific thing that I did?
On that specific thing you did, it's within what's allowed. I can understand Andrea's point because she mentioned that she was quite embarrassed by you doing it.
Yeah.
But in terms of the fact that you earn your living by reselling, and you saw an opportunity, you took it. It's as simple as that in my eyes. I don't think there's any moral question about it. And I actually think that sometimes people can be a little bit precious when it comes to making money, which is quite peculiar for people that are all about making money online. I don't think you can. It's funny how people have got ideas of what is okay and what isn't okay. So, I mean, I suppose you can ask. Some people have a problem with making money through selling adult videos or something. Some people wouldn't do that, but other people have got no issue with it. So it's weird. So it's okay for someone to make money selling that, but it's not okay to make money selling something else. It's a bit, I don't know.
I think
peculiar.
I got the impression from this commenter that they had the issue of the fact that I was not letting anyone else have a chance. I guess I was being greedy, essentially, and I can see that point of view. I think Andrea's embarrassment was because other people were around watching and thinking, whoa, he's going for it, sort of thing. I've been doing this that long that I couldn't care less what people are looking at me and thinking. I know I'm fine. I had a clear conscience doing it and didn't have any issues doing it. And I've got such a thick skin now. I couldn't care less that people are
Yeah, I
looking
mean,
at me like, what are you doing?
I
So
think the
that's the
greed.
thing. But
Yeah,
morally, I felt fine with it.
yeah, I don't think you should feel greedy because I always like to take things to like logical conclusions. Like if you ever want to see whether what you're thinking makes sense or not, I always find it's interesting at the very least to extrapolate your thinking to its logical end, right?
Mm.
So if you're thinking about, if you're worried, if you're a reseller out there and you feel greedy because you clear out a stall before someone else gets there, the next time you come across someone who's selling I don't know, like a Nintendo NES with a bunch of cartridges, just take 5 of them and leave the other 50 for the other guys, right? It doesn't make any sense. You're going to take the whole lot, and you should take the whole lot. And if you
Yeah.
don't take the whole lot, there's something wrong with you. So I would actually, it's always worth extrapolating your thinking out to the logical end. And although it seems nice to think, oh, I left some, or other people are there as well, you're there to buy things. The people that hold these events, there's a reason why they've said, tell you what, give us a fiver and fill a bag. They want you to fill your bags. They want your fivers. And
Well,
as long,
definitely that is the idea of this place. They don't want anything left, and they did a damn good job because there was
Yep.
scraps left at the end. And yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. If it's worth picking up a few, you may as well pick them all up. It's just whether you've got the nerve really to be that bold. I was just going to dip in the chat. There's some really interesting comments coming in. Cat's rant starts off by saying, jumble sales, you've got to grab whatever you can as quickly as you can, turn around and it'll be in someone else's bag. That is so true. In fact, we've been to this jumble sale, this filler bag one, 2 years in a row. We went last year, and I'd never been to a filler bag, and I was the guy flicking through, picking out the good stuff in the media last year, and a guy came up and picked up the next crate, the whole thing, and just put it in his bag. And I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I just joined in, and between us, we just cleared it up. And, so I've seen that if I don't do it, well, I know for a fact if I didn't do it, somebody else would. And that's where I am. And I am earning my living doing this, and I don't have any issues. Karen says, I don't like seeing jumble sales for charity, people bartering as money is for charity. That's a whole different thing. And that wasn't the issue that I think this commentator had with me, because there was no issue about bartering. I'd bought a
filler bag. You've paid the bag. Exactly. The only moral question would have been if you hadn't paid your fiver and tried to do an Alan Partridge and bought your own bag, like a larger, everyone else has got like a regular bag. And if you walked in with a bag 10 times the size, without paying the fiver, then there's a moral issue and and it's theft. But
that's
as soon as you've paid as you've paid the fiver, that's the end of the moral discussion. I think it's easy for things to get clouded as soon as the charity word is mentioned, because it's for charity. Well, then again, extrapolate it. I always like to say, like, for example, I agree with bartering. I'm not necessarily a fan of bartering in a charity shop or in a charity event. If something's for charity, it's for charity, right? But if you go into a charity shop and they have priced an item up, but it's underpriced, let's take it to its conclusion. If you're all about fairness, next time you see like a boxed Lego set for a tenner that is worth 100, instead of a tenner, go and pay 50. And I know some people have done similar things where they've gone and given money. Great. But the way I see it is they've asked for a tenner. I'm paying a tenner. It's fine. It's standard. They got it for nothing. They priced it. They had their chance. At the end of the day, how far do you take things? And
well, I want to go on to charity shops, because I think that's a subtly different one, and I think you've touched on the key there, that if they've priced it at a price, is that the end of it morally? But I just want to read some more of the comments. It's good if you have got opinions on this. If they're completely different to ours, that's fine. Just let us know. That's the whole point in this discussion. I was interested to see if other resellers have a different point of view. Gavin says, that's corkscrew Gavin, that is. If you don't bag it, or the next person would. Yeah, exactly. That's my take on it. And I've been the guy behind somebody getting those epic deals before, and I know how that feels. So I've learned over years, you see an opportunity, you maximize it. That's kind of my job, really. Richard, if you've paid your £5 grab all you can, snooze, you lose. So, yeah. Peter Cummins, they should have specified that £5 a bag was just for clothes. Nothing wrong with you getting those CDs if they didn't specify. There was no specification. It was £5 a bag, fill it up. Everything was up for grabs. Kevin, what's that question? I will be in Nick's area in a couple of weeks. Will there be any boot sales still running? There's one in Stevenage. If you Google Stevenage car boot sale, that'll let you know where that is. There's one in Hitchin. It's a very small one, but there's one in the centre of Hitchin. It's every Sunday. They're all on Google if you search it.
I mean, and that's the other thing, isn't it? I mean, like, for example, you take it to car boot sales. Lots of people go to car boot sales because they want to get rid of their stuff and make a bit of money. Now, many people, again, don't, people feel guilty for these multinational charities, or people have an issue with charities, like, you shouldn't take advantage of charities that, which, by the way, spend God knows how many hundreds of millions on TV adverts, on hiring people to call up and get you to donate more, etc. And as we all know, I actually did something for charity recently, so I've got no issue with charity. But if you extend where you're going, again, extrapolate your thinking. What about when you're at a car boot sale and poor old ladies flogging all their stuff dirt cheap? Are you going to say to her, no love, you're underpricing this a lot, I know you could do with the money, I can see you're only here in a Fiesta, let me pay you extra? It doesn't work like that, and it's not, it comes down to this whole thing where you're not robbing somebody. It's not forced. They are selling items. As long as someone is selling an item at a price that they have specified and they are happy to sell at, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, there's even been cases where people realize that what they're selling is they've underpriced it, and they'll change the price, and then you've got the option to pay like a higher price, or or to walk away or whatever. But as long as the seller, whether that be an individual, whether that be a charity, whether that be someone at a car boot or whatever, it doesn't matter. If someone is selling something at a price that they have specified and you're happy to pay that price, that's the end of it.
In fact, that's a really good example of we went to a jumble sale that we go to regularly, and a couple of the staff members, this is the one where we've been confronted about being resellers before, and one staff member in particular I was very open with about what I do, and since then she's been really off with us, to the point last time we were there, she didn't see it was me until I turned around at one point, but I said, how much is this? It was a Kenwood mixer and a couple of other bits of electronics, and she started off at I think it was either £5 or £6. I turned around to start, giving her the money or whatever, and she went, oh, so it was me, and then it went to a tenner. So that, in my book, is morally wrong, because why am I any different from anybody else in that hall?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and you've got the choice then to either pay it or not pay it, and that's it, really, isn't it? So,
but why should I be treated differently from somebody that's buying it to themselves?
Well, you shouldn't, but that's the seller's prerogative in a way, I suppose. If they want to discriminate in that way, then that's up to them, I'd say. So yeah, it might not be comfortable and it's a bit annoying, but I just I feel that there's not much of an issue here. I think sometimes it can just feel like it. I mean, it's that whole thing where like, I don't know why people have got an issue sometimes with people making money off things. It's really weird, it's just strange.
another issue
considering
that,
society, and the very same people are not gonna, you know what, I want some of these people that bought their houses like in the 1980s and 90s for 40 grand. You know, why don't you sell your house at a fair price? Why do you sell it at market value now? You know, why don't you be such a good person and sell it for what it's worth rather than the current market price,
well,
which
that's
is
it.
actually
When the
what it's worth.
shoe's on the other
Yeah.
foot,
Yeah.
you're going to get the maximum out of your asset
Yeah.
possible,
Of
which is
course you
exactly
can.
what we do day in and day out. And when
Yeah.
your example, when you're at a jumble sale and an old lady's selling something for 50p, you know is worth 50 quid, do you say, oh, you know what, I'll give you
Yeah.
25?
Yeah.
But you don't, because the difference between what you're
Because
paying for it and what you're going to sell it for is your living. It's serious. It's your wage. You know what I mean? You don't want to start giving that away. But some people do say that's where the moral line is blurred. Should you take advantage of people who don't know what they've got? And essentially, that is all we do day in and day out. And
but
if you
that's how,
don't like it,
well,
then
that's how every business works,
yeah,
really, isn't it? I mean, it's kind of like when people get mad at people for selling stuff for high prices on FBA. So, for example, things like Pie Face or the little new SNES consoles and things. You know, people get mad because they're like, they feel like they're being forced to pay, you know, 80 quid for a board game that normally costs 20 quid. You're not being forced. You
yeah.
know, you're choosing to pay 80 quid. You know, that's your choice. You
Well,
don't have to.
that's another really interesting area that also inspired this chat, because over in the Tat Chat, before we went live, I tried to find the thread and I couldn't find it. But somebody was talking about that they just don't want to get involved in RA flipping of toys at Christmas because of the abuse they're going to get on Facebook, etc. And I would actually say that selling, like for example, last year, Hatchimals, you know, people were getting in on Hatchimals and selling them for silly money. And people on Facebook were getting serious abuse. And I would say stick to Amazon and eBay for that sort of stuff, because you know they've got things in place where they can protect you from a certain amount of that abuse. Facebook, people can say and do whatever they like,
Yeah.
so just be
I mean,
careful. But
I would love to do that kind of stuff. I just can't. It just doesn't appeal to me. That's the only reason I don't do it. Otherwise, you'd see me selling this year's must-have Christmas toy at 10 times its worth. Why would I do that? Because people will pay it. If they won't pay it, I won't do
exactly.
it. It's
Let me. I've missed a lot of chat. Let me see what the opinions are in the side chat. Oh my god, I've got loads I've missed.
oh wow, yeah.
Hillsman says sorry he's late. He was stuck on a train in Hitchin, or no, Hitching. I don't know where that is. Oh, maybe it is Hitchin. It says there was signal failure. It was probably Nick getting his granny trolleys off the train in front. No, I've been at home all day doing FBA boxes. Okay. See if we can get any opinion. Peter, read charity shops. I think it's okay to ask if it's a high value item or multiple items. Oh, haggling, I'm guessing this is. But if they say no, don't keep asking. I got 2 gramophones for 130 instead of 150 after asking. That's fair enough. If you are comfortable, I mean, everyone's going to have their own moral compass anyway regarding haggling in charity shops. I did it once, and that was on a job lot of books. It was graphic novels. And I had a chat with the lady, and she was super happy for me to take the lot at a slight discount because they'd sat there for ages and they couldn't get rid of them. And she was happy, I was happy. But it's the only one time that I've haggled in a charity shop, and it did feel a bit weird.
Well, I mean, I think I've had that happen once where without actually haggling, I got a better price just because I ummed and ahed over something. They kind of came forward, and this is a charity because, you know, charities are looking to sell stuff, guys. You know, it's not, you know, the reason why they've got shops and the reason why they've got stuff is because they want to sell it. They're, you know, it's a business now. You know, they have to offer you returns if items aren't correct. And you know, they're asking prices now which reflect that. They want to make as much money as they can for their charity, which is fine, but it's run in the same manner as any other shop. So in a way, I suppose, if you are buying a lot, it's, you know, I wouldn't have any. I mean, I personally haven't haggled in the charity shop. Like I said, once I was kind of I don't know. Could you
They
call that
often do so.
a passive aggressive haggle? Maybe because I just went, I was, you know, and they just,
But that's the thing, that they get this stuff for free 90%
yeah,
of the time, so they are happy to negotiate. But it is a very grey area if people are comfortable doing that, and I think most of us aren't. That, you know, the charity shop names their price and we pay it 9 times
yeah.
out of 10. But a charity shop is just a business, the same as we are, and they're there to make money. And if they're happy to negotiate on price and get the sale, then so be it.
Yeah.
Let's see what Airplane says. I'm sorry to say that many charities are not charities anymore, as they employ full-time £35,000 a year managers and assistant managers, and this helps to explain their rip-off prices. But the thing is, in order to run a retail chain, you need people in there to run it. You can't avoid having managers, and 35 grand a year for a retail manager isn't over the top. You know, you can't run a charity shops in the kind of in the dark old days of the 80s. It was all like volunteers and little local charities. Now it's big business. I mean, the cancer research in Stevenage, it's a warehouse. It's huge. There must be 10-20 staff members there, and the numbers they must turn over.
And not only that, a lot of charities now employ people to list and sell things online as well,
Absolutely.
specifically. So it's, which is great, more money for the charity. That can only be a good thing. But
Because
it's,
they've had to scale up to maximize what they can out of getting stuff for free and selling it and making money. They've had to scale it up,
and you have to draw a line in terms of efficiencies, though. I mean, I suppose you can only trust them to run their affairs as efficiently as possible, to hand over as much money over to the causes that they support as possible. Now, whether they do that or not is always going to be subjective. I mean,
yeah,
but you've got to think it works. I mean, even again, bringing it back to the Brave the Shave that I did, if they hadn't been spending millions advertising Brave the Shave, promoting it on TV, billboards, online, etc., how many people would even be aware of it? How many people would be interested by it? They have to market these things. I'm not like a Mother Teresa type figure that just does things. Some part of me had to be sold to do that. I saw that Rebecca had done something amazing for charity last year, which was her marathon walk.
Yeah.
And they created a product in essence, which was raise money by braving the shave, which appealed to me, which then in turn has only been beneficial because we raised well over £2,000 towards a good cause, which is amazing. But look at the work that went in behind the scenes, as it were, to get that. There's always it's never black and white, is it? These things, I suppose.
No. Oh, hello. Oh, come back. My notification vanished. What is it? Oh, sold some more shuttlecocks. A pack of shuttlecocks for £20.
Oh, wow. You're doing okay with those, aren't you?
Yeah. They've been sat in the loft for 3 years. I picked up that haul just when I started making videos. So probably 3 and a bit years.
Just sat there.
Bring them down, list them, and they sell.
Shelfsterrooney says, in case people don't know, I am a community fundraiser for a local MENCAP. One of the fundraising things I do for Reading MENCAP is sell donations on eBay. Please don't shoot me. We never would. It's a great thing to do.
Yeah, I have no issue, and I've never had an issue with charity shops evolving and gravitating towards eBay and Amazon. Because as we said before, their job is to maximize these donations that they get given. Okay.
Yeah.
We give an awful lot to charity. We always have done. And I would be a bit miffed if they weren't trying to get the most out of it. But on the other side of that, I do enjoy going in and buying things way less than their value is. I mean, it's what I've done for years. But they should be on eBay, and they should be maximizing what we as the general public give them. And
Yeah.
if that's selling on eBay, that's what they should be doing, and it's only ever going to increase that.
And the thing is, I don't want to kind of get it too skewed towards charity, because you can just avoid charity shops. Really, I mean, a lot of people could cut out charity shops from their sourcing, really, because there's plenty of other alternatives. I mean, the main, I think, thrust of this chat should be about, you know, the morals of what happened at the jumble sale, like whether it was okay to take those CDs in bulk, but also you could extend that to, you know, how honest are you when you're buying something from an old lady at a charity shop? We'll use the old lady, not a charity shop, at a boot sale. We'll use that example because, you know, it keeps it cleaner. I think it simplifies things, because as soon as you bring charity into it, like buying from charity or whatever, it can, like I said, it's always a bit of a gray area, because like you said, you do want them to earn as much as they can, whilst
I'll read a couple more of
yeah.
the comments about charity, and then we'll move back on to the other subjects. A couple more. I get to go out the back in my local charity shops. They have a poster saying check prices online before putting out. Indication and sign of the times there.
Yeah.
If resellers, see, I agree with this. This is Peter. If resellers stopped buying in charity shops, their takings would plummet. Yeah, this sort of black market of underground resellers has propped up a lot of charity work for years, and I think they're well aware of that. And there's another one: charity shops here truly price items to move for the most part, happy to pay their prices 9 out of 10 times. All items are priced. If the price isn't on it, they won't sell it to you. That's Electronic Firing Squad. So yeah, it's a whole other debate. I know what you're saying when you bring charity, and that's a whole other kind of moral dilemma alongside.
It can grey things, because I think it's a lot simpler when you just look at it from the perspective of, you know, morals in reselling in general. Just say if you just source your car boots and things like that, you know, the whole morality aspect of it, like when you know that you're getting a Mewtwo camera for 50p, you know, and those things are selling for like 200 quid, and even in the last couple of weeks we've seen people paying like £1.50 and stuff for them. You know, should they be saying, actually, I'm gonna, you know, I mean, I've picked up Mewtwo's for 50p, and that was when they were selling for 80 to 100. Should I have said, mate, you know, really, I should give you 30 quid for this at least?
That good old bolo that you shared and ruined the markets are here.
Oh yeah, that's doubled in price since I first. Yeah, and it wasn't me, actually. It was you. I think it was Yorkshire Reseller, who's sometimes in the chat. I did actually say that back in the day. He first mentioned it, and then I said it because I was like, oh wow, because I found one. I was like, you know.
Yeah. These damn YouTubers sharing the secrets. Anyway, that's for another day. Okay, then let me put this to you. Is it okay? You're at a boot sale, and let's say you're really into clothing, or Beck's there with you, and they've got loads of kids' clothes, all different sizes, and you're rummaging, you're picking out some really good designer stuff and that, and they say to you, "Are these for your kids? Have you got lots of kids?" Then what do you say? Do you just lie and carry on?
I'm never in that situation because I don't buy the clothes, but I think it would be something like ice for my family. I've said I've been in similar situations where it's been like toys or something. Oh, it's for my family.
It's okay to just make up a story.
I mean, well, yeah, because I'm aware that there are people out there that have got, for some reason, in my humble opinion, they've got a wrong idea of things, because it shouldn't matter, you know, what I'm buying the items to, you know, if you're at a charity, if you're at a boot sale, you know, I keep saying charity shop, if you're at a boot sale selling stuff, as long as I'm paying you with legit money, that should be the end of it. You know, it really should. You know, you're not selling a Ferrari that can only be sold to certain customers. Like you're selling stuff at a boot sale. It shouldn't matter why I'm buying the item. So if someone asks me to save hassle, yeah, I will just say, unless it feels like I can say, no, I'm just going to be selling this on. But most times it's easier and quicker just to be like, yeah, it's for the family or whatever.
Yeah,
and off you go.
Many times.
Yeah, but the reason I do it is not, it's because I'm aware that people have got faulty thinking, and I know that sounds kind of like, you know, a bit rude maybe, but I think some people have got faulty thinking. They, for some reason, it's bad for you to make money from them.
Yeah,
But I bet you if they were in, it's kind of like that whole thing, that old nutshell where games collectors are so they feel so righteous about being able to collect games, yet
that's
if
next on
they
my list.
find what, yeah, the hypocrisy of it all is they will preach till they're blue in the face about how it's unfair that as collectors they don't get a chance. They're collectors, they're not just selling it on, they're not scalpers or lizards or whatever they call people that make money. But the funny thing is, if they find these consoles and games, if they find a particularly collectible, I don't know, Nintendo or whatever, Nintendo 64, or whatever, like, they're not going to leave it just because they've already got 10. They're still going to buy it. And if it's cheap, they're not going to say to the guy, by the way, this Nintendo 64 you're selling to me for £2. Lonnie got one for like $2, I think, this weekend.
Exactly.
You're not going to suddenly say, actually, you're selling this Nintendo 64. They don't say that.
Well,
The issue is only when they only have an issue when they're not getting the bargains. It's okay for them to have bargains. It's not okay for anyone else to have. And that's what it comes down to. It's
yeah,
faulty thinking.
I follow a couple of gaming collector channels. One is Rich King Retro, has a great
Oh,
channel. I'd
he's
love to get
fantastic.
him on and chat
Yeah,
actually.
it's funny.
But he has a huge gaming collection. But
Hmm.
as exactly as you said, and I don't think he has any trouble issues himself with resellers, but I know some do. But what he does to fund his collection, as Ben Fitzpatrick started in reselling to do, he's already got an N64, he's got all the consoles pretty much, but he's not going to leave that one there. If it's a fiver, he'll buy it and he'll take it to CEX and trade it in to get some stuff he does want, or he'll put it on eBay himself to get money to buy the next game he hasn't got. So they're doing exactly what we do, yet their profits are being spent on a collection. Our profits are being spent on living and our family. So we've got the moral high ground if they want to argue it in that sense. I
Yeah.
just need to actually mention Peter Ray has just super chatted, probably ages ago. I'm way behind. Super chatted £2. So thanks for that, Peter. He says, awesome, productive chat tonight. Well done. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it.
And Indie Chick makes a great point under that super chat, actually. I mean, if you're going to talk about morals, the same people that will ask you what, whether you're going to sell it on and make a profit are the same people that will tell you, oh, it works perfectly, it's never been used, you know and then you only for you to get it home. And this reminds me of something, actually. A few months ago, or maybe even a year ago, some guy offloaded what he believed to be a faulty item, knowingly, I reckon, tried to flog an all faulty item on to some plum at a boot sale, and that plum was me, right?
Is that the camera?
No, it was an Elgato game capture card. It was about the time when they were quite new, so I was very surprised to see a quite current item at a boot sale for starters. Okay, and they only wanted 20 or 30 quid for it, and this was quite a current item. And that I said, is it working? Because it was too good to be true, right? And they were like, yeah, it works. And knowingly took my 20 or 30 quid, whatever it was. And in the end, I did actually make a great profit on it, because it turned out the reason why it wasn't working, which they didn't know, was that the connector, the USB cable that they had supplied with it, that I'm guessing they were using, had developed a fault. And so when you were plugging it into a computer, it wasn't being recognized. I swapped it out for another USB cable. It works fine. So, there's an example of, and that happens so often. And there was another one where someone told me a pat tester that they'd apparently tested the night before, and I shared it. And I opened up the battery compartment, and it was literally heaving with battery acid gunk.
Oh man!
But again, it worked, and I sold it for a massive profit. So I paid 15 quid, and I sold it for like 150 quid. And not an iota of guilt there from me for making that money.
There was a few comments coming in about things you say when you're trying to do that deal at the boot sale. Do you make something up? Karen says she has a big family. We've all got a big family as resellers.
Yeah, we all have huge families.
Pete says it's when you buy 30 books and they say, you must be a big reader. Yeah. I'm into everything. So I have conversations with people when I'm buying Warhammer. They say to you, well, I remember I bought some Warhammer stuff a couple of years back. I bought like a big black tower thing unpainted and a load of figures. And the guy started chatting to me about Warhammer. And I'm like trying to hold my own, but I don't know nothing about it. But you know, you end up pretending to be kind of into all this random stuff you're buying, or you have a daughter that's into it, or you're buying it for your dad or your wife. I'm always buying stuff for my wife.
Yeah.
Dear. Vinny says, I just tell people I buy and sell. Yeah. What if that works? Some people might still get a bit snooty with you. Okay, let me scroll down a bit before.
Dickory Dog says, if you're prepared to gouge people, justifying one wrong by another, why not just become a confidence trickster? It depends what you count as gouging people. If you count buying something from someone for the price they've specified and then selling it for a lot more as gouging people, then I think you're mistaken.
Well,
and a confidence trickster often doesn't. Yeah, it's just it's a complete con, isn't it? A con is when you don't.
It involves personal gain through fraud in
yeah. Exactly.
Selling something you don't actually have, or making up a story, or not following through on what you're promising. We're not ever doing any of those.
Yeah.
You know,
so,
as you said,
for example, if that 50p I hand over for a Mewtwo to sell for £200, if that 50p is actually made out of chocolate biscuit, then I would be a confidence trickster. But if I'm buying it with a legitimate 50p and that's what they've asked for the camera, that's what I'll pay them, and that makes me a legitimate buyer.
It's interesting that commenter, and thanks for that, compares directly us as resellers to confidence tricksters. And I think this is the cloud of confusion that comes around with us being immoral and what we do for a living is immoral. But I just don't buy it. I really don't see the connection there.
Yeah.
I think we are opportunists, and we take advantage of the fact that we have knowledge about things that other people don't. But that's as far as you can take it, I think.
Yeah. I mean, there are companies out there that, I mean, I don't know if you guys ever listen to the radio. There's plenty of adverts out there from people, you know, where they're companies that offer to buy people's houses when they're in need. You know, under the premise of if you're in a hurry to sell your house quickly, then we'll buy it for you. Don't worry. Now, would you say those people are gouging buyers? You know, they're putting out their proposition, which is we will buy your house on the spot, cash, no question asked. Yes, it'll probably be a ton under market value, but that's how they make their money. It's kind of very I don't know. For me, it's quite simple. I don't see that it's I don't see it as an issue. It's a service out there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting. Sue's in the chat. Hi there, Sue. She says a regular seller at my car boot is always telling me the toys she sells were her grandchildren's. She must have hundreds in every age.
Yeah, there's so many. Exactly. Yeah, I mean,
Baron says Baron Greenback, which is a Danger Mouse reference, isn't it? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I agree with Zahir. It's not the seller's decision what happens after it's sold. It's up to the buyer. I wouldn't stop someone buying from me purely on that principle. Yeah, I've had that once that I can remember offhand, that at a car boot sale, somebody refused to sell me the stuff that I'd gathered up because I said to him I was a reseller. And he made me put it all back. And I wasn't even haggling. I wasn't. This was clothing. It's back when I was buying up clothing for when we were just doing clothing. And he refused to sell it to me. So I was gobsmacked.
I think the it's often nicer in a way when you're dealing with another business, because they will have that intrinsic understanding that you need to make a profit. And I think that it's that always works out quite nicely, because there's no issue. Sometimes, like, you know, you'll be able to make a deal with someone who's also in business, and you'll be able to, you know, approach them with that honesty, and you can do that at a car boot as well. you know,
Mhm.
sometimes people aren't silly. They can understand if you're, you know, if you're like a 6'4" man and you're buying up all the size 6 ladies' shoes on a stall, um, you know, it doesn't take much to realize, you know, that you know, you're doing it for money. And there's nothing wrong. I mean,
Yeah, I was just reading a comment again from Dickory Doc, which I think has vanished now. He was saying that he thinks if there is something really cheap and you know it has way more value, you should be morally obliged to tell them. But that
I
undermines
don't think so.
everything that we do.
I think so. That's that about knowledge, and knowledge is
Well,
power at the end of the day. And if you've got that knowledge, if you know what something's worth, and the seller hasn't bothered or hasn't, you know, if they haven't bothered, then you're not responsible for that. And I think it was just a comment about a B&O system that he was offered for £100 from a local church, and it originally retailed at 10,000. Would you take it? There's B&O systems which were originally worth 10,000 that aren't even worth 50 quid now. So it is, you know,
but again,
yeah,
that
but
if Dickory Doc,
yeah,
that's his username there, has the feeling that his moral compass says, I need to do what I feel is right,
yeah,
then that is absolutely fine. But what we're talking about here is if you're paying the price somebody asks for something that you know is worth a lot more,
yeah.
are you morally wrong? And I think what this is showing is it depends on your standpoint.
I mean, I'll give you here's another example, because I'm kind of enjoying this chat. It's pretty good. Recently it was everywhere in the news, and everyone at boot sales were talking about it. There was a lady that about 30 years ago bought a ring from a car boot, which for a tenner, which she ended up selling at auction all these years later for about 600 grand, because it turned out to be a giant whopping diamond. Right now, morally, before she took the money, should she have done everything in her power to track down the poor sod that sold her the ring for a tenner all those years ago, or not? I mean, like, how far do you take it back? You know, again, extrapolate. You know, how much effort do you put in? I mean, I believe that Alabama Pickers, who've got a YouTube channel, ages ago mentioned they once found thousands of pounds in the bottom of a boot that they bought in a house clearance.
Mhm.
You know, how far do you take things back? And they couldn't remember where they bought it because they buy so much stuff in so much volume. Sometimes it's easy to lose track where's what's from where. You know, how far do you take it back? I just don't see the logic in it. You know,
No, and if that's how we should all carry on, what about people who deal in stocks and shares? I bought a load of shares off this guy yesterday. I know I've got the paper trail where they came from. Today, the company has announced they're merging, and they've gone through the roof, and they're now worth 100 times more. I better give that guy a phone call, hadn't I? And split the
the
profit with
stock
him.
price. Yeah, of course.
That
No,
conversation is never going to
yeah.
happen.
Defeats the object of capitalism.
Yeah. And I think fundamentally, some people are just uncomfortable with capitalism, which involves it's about you getting the most out of your situation. It's you exploiting a situation, capitalizing on a situation. It's the actual definition of the word.
Yeah. If you're uncomfortable with that, then you know
And this
that's
leads me on to kind of the big one at this time of year about, is there a moral question going out there? And the SNES Mini is a good example right now.
buying the
Whatever
Christmas
you can
must-have.
Yeah, buying whatever you can get your hands on, because you know there's going to be a huge demand for it in December or even right now, and flipping them for as much as you can get out of it because there's none left in the stores.
I would say
Where's the moral
not.
dilemma there?
I would say not only should you do it, I would say you're almost duty bound as a reseller to do it. I'm not going to do it simply because I really don't like doing. I mean, it's just stupidity is why I'm not doing it. It's because I'm stupid. That's it. There's no other reason. Otherwise, I would say it's beholden upon you to go out as a reseller and get as many SNES minis as you can. And there's one simple reason. If people are willing to pay the money, you're going to ask, why shouldn't you? You should do it. No one is holding a gun to people's head when they click buy now. When and I know there's the argument, oh, but my kid wants this, and you're making it. I'm like a single parent, and this toy would have only cost me 20 quid, and it would have made little Johnny's Christmas, and you scalpers out there are ruining it and charging me 200 quid for it. Well, again, realities of life. Little Johnny doesn't need this toy. He wants it. He or she wants it. And you as a parent have a choice. You either wait or try and find it for the correct retail price, or you cough up market value price. Now that
I think there's two things. I agree with you actually, but I think there's two things. If it's that important that your son, daughter, whatever needs that toy, you should have been out there with the rest of the resellers,
queuing,
getting them on day 1, day 2, or pre-ordering them, because it's not actually difficult to get hold of them if you think in advance. Or like you say, it's not going to end the child's life if you wait till after Christmas and the January sales, where you could probably pick it up for near retail anyway.
I mean, exactly the cost of these things, these inflated prices are just that, they're inflated, and you have a choice whether to pay. You don't, it's not. You're not being forced to pay these prices. In fact, you shouldn't. If you've got a brain cell, you shouldn't pay these prices. There's no way anyone should have ever spent 80 or whatever quid for that Speak Out game, but they did. Now.
Yeah, well, let me just read a super chat that's come in from Electronic Firing Squad. He super chatted $10, which is incredibly generous. Thank you. He says $10 from an evil resale flip. I bought a $10,000 speaker system for $100 and sold it for $110. My profits are now yours, Brian, a scummy reseller.
Oh, thanks.
I don't know what to say to that.
Very generous to share your profits.
I was going to say, going back to actually Speak Out was a great example, and also the Chewbacca mask that I really enjoyed getting in on last year. There were people buying this thing at the vastly inflated prices, which soon came down again afterwards. If you could just hang on a week or two,
just a bit of patience,
it will come down. So there were people paying like 60, 70, 80 pounds at its peak for those poxy masks. I think I cleared mine at about 60, I think, tops. But then they were leaving feedback on Amazon saying I was ripped off by some scummy reseller. How do you sleep at night? And this was on Amazon. It's probably still on there now. You can read the comments. And it's like,
I'd ask how they managed to stay awake. I mean, how do they manage to stay alive? How do they not forget to breathe with that kind of thinking? I mean, the price is there. When you buy it, the price is there.
Exactly.
Okay,
it's their decision to buy it. Or to go, that's ridiculous, I'm not buying it.
If you had patience, and you know what, if these guys showed a bit of patience, they dictate to us what we do. We simply capitalize on what we know the situation is. However, all it would take is, if this Christmas, if every person that is so desperate beyond anything to get their kids a SNES Mini didn't buy it at the 150 quid, and all these resellers were lumbered with 20, 30 SNES Minis that they had to shamefully take back or whatever.
You're right.
Soon enough, the resellers would adjust their behavior, because that's what we do. We adapt to the situations, right?
Well, we can only sell something at what somebody's actually prepared to sell it for. We can only supply the demand. And we've all been there asking too much, and the item doesn't sell. And as you said, eventually we come down and cash it in. But you're right. If the general public at large were patient enough and said, I'm not paying that, I'm just going to wait, everyone would cash in their SNES Minis, for as much as they could get, even if it's just cost. But it's never going to happen. And there's so many people out there with more money than sense, or less time than they should have. They don't get organized until December the 15th, and then go, what's that thing? What's it needs? What does little Johnny want this year? Oh, some SNES thing. And they go on there.
Go on Amazon, and that's it. Yeah.
And that's just how it plays out and it's been the same since the 80s, hasn't it? You know, with like Transformers and stuff, people going mad for them. And
Brian brings up a good comment. Great chat. What about ticket touts? Not always easy to get, even if you make the effort to be first in line and only limited amount. See, okay, now I might sound a bit hypocritical now, but I think that's a bit different. The reason is the reason is they are often using what I'm pretty sure is prohibited software hacks to get these tickets. That's the difference. It's like
but that's just using a tool to further your business.
But I don't know. But if it's been actually, if the websites are saying, if these ticket sellers are saying you shouldn't be using these kinds of, if they're officially against these dodgy softwares which allow people to buy multiple tickets at the same time and log in inhumanly quickly, if they've actually specified that. But if they haven't, then actually those ticket touts, go on, they deserve it because they're taking advantage of a situation. But however, if they're illegally doing it against the terms of the website, then it's wrong. Because again, actually, to mention trading, there are plenty of massive trading companies on the stock markets which work in the same way, where they have these really clever computers that make lots and lots of trades per second, inhumanly fast. A human couldn't trade like these computers do. But they've created these algorithms, these programs to trade like these microtransactions each second, and they make so much money like that. But that's not against the rules, so they do it. So as long as Ticketmaster or whoever has not, if they've specified that these types of software are wrong, which I think there was some talk about in the news in the distant past, then
But is there a line then where being a ticket tout does cross a moral line? Recently, when there was the horrific bombing in Manchester, they ran a concert for that. Would you say you have to draw a line at reselling a charity gig ticket?
That's a good question.
I think you do.
Because well, if you think about it, it depends. Well, I personally wouldn't do it. No, it just, to me, that seems wrong. But if you apply the logic to it, then it would be hard to argue against the logic, wouldn't it?
Yeah. See, that comes down
morally,
to decision.
Yeah. See, that's when you have to do it.
It's interesting because on the ticket one, I've fallen foul of that many times, trying to get tickets for my daughter to go to gigs, trying to get tickets myself to go to gigs, and I've ended up paying from third-party websites to go see bands that I love.
Yeah.
It's almost kind of part and parcel of it now, and it doesn't mean I like it, but I think there are ways they could get around this, and they're managing to do it with the likes of Glastonbury, where you end up with your name and address on the ticket and stuff.
If it's not prohibited, Alzatic says no, not prohibited, but same concept. Well, no, in that case, if it's not prohibited, then no, then there's nothing wrong with it. Then again, I think Julie Hall just says if the public refused to buy the tickets, they would lower their price. Again, it's the same thing, isn't it? Yeah, that clarifies it completely.
The buyers can, if they work together, create the price.
Yeah.
By adjusting their demand and holding back and not buying things, but you can't tell the public to act as a mass. It's just never going to work out. Vinny just commented, well, I think it's probably a while ago now. At the end of the day, we're here to make money, and as long as you're not being dishonest or acting illegally, which goes into what you were saying about the tickets, I see no problem with what we do. I think that sums up pretty much my standpoint on it. Let's see where we're at. I think I'm quite far behind. Gavin, UK reseller, says the general rule in antique corkscrew business, which this guy knows an awful lot about. If you find a piece priced at £50 that is worth 900, it's not good practice to try to haggle. Yeah, I can see that. I don't think it'd stay on the table long enough to have a conversation. If you know your corkscrews and you saw a 900 quid corkscrew at 50 quid, yeah, you'd be all over it, wouldn't you? Okay. Yeah, Ryan says it's all up for grabs. The world we live in is about money, tax, and bills. We are a monkey in the big tax wheel. Simple as that. In the end,
I think you're right, because if you actually look at it, my confusion about the old ticket thing being a bit different was only down to if the ticket websites have prohibited it and said it's against the rules to use the software they use. If it's not illegal to use that software, then, and I'm guessing it's not because they're doing it all the time, aren't they? Then
Yeah. Sorry, I was absorbed
yeah.
with the chat there. Stu Mandry says, I'm thoroughly enjoying this chat about profiteering, sips champagne, looks at Rolex watch, lights cigar with a £50 note. Are you stroking a big white cat as well?
An expensive cat. It has to
$1
be.
million.
Yeah.
Excellent. Mr. Saddy123. Last year, pie face was up to 50 to 80 pounds. Today, it's under a tenner.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's about what that thing is worth. I've played, my cousins had that for their kids, and we ran there at Christmas, and they were trying to play the game, and it's worth about 10 minutes of fun, if that. The kids were bored certainly within 15 minutes, and it probably never came out again. So tenner is the most I'd ever pay for that piece of junk, really. It's like Speak Out as well, which went berserk. It's basically 4 bits of plastic you put in your mouth and some cards with words on it.
Yeah.
Whoever came up with that made a fortune. They must cost about £1 to make.
If that, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, madness. So, what is the it toy this Christmas? Said Peace 3601. I don't know. I haven't really focused on RA much this year. Certainly not, the big Christmas toy. I mean, the SNES Mini will do well. Already has done for a lot of people. Beyond that, I'm not really on the ball with it.
Richard Payne says, I still haggled £1 off my Mewtwo I picked up. Got to haggle at a car boot. See, I agree with him. And you know what? Haggling at a car boot, I think, is almost something that it's almost tradition for starters, right? I think you have to. If you don't, I see it almost as tradition. You've got to, and you do it with a smile and say, like, I've got to try, And also, if you do get money off, if you get from £2 to £1, you've just knocked 50% off your cost price.
Yeah,
what's not to like about that? I mean,
even if you just haggle
yeah,
those 50p's and a pounds for a whole year's worth of buy-in,
you'd lots of money. Yeah. Now again, there's different ways of doing it. Like I said, mine is normally with a smile. Will you take X for this? They're going to either say yes or no, and I'll buy it at whatever price I'm happy to buy it at. However, I've seen certain buyers repeatedly just repeat the price they want to pay, which is aggressive, intimidating, and that's the wrong way to do it. So
ask the question, listen to the answer you get back.
Yeah, kind of like no means no situation, right? It's no means no. So if it's a no, then just accept the first no and then either buy it or move on. But when you see people, and you see all kinds of people doing this, and some of them can be really aggressive. I remember that Tom the English Picker actually put a video up ages ago, and he awarded his prestigious award to this guy, DHOTW, to this guy who was exactly that aggressive, and completely pressured someone into lowering a price on something, and it was the manner in which he did it that offended Tom, I think, or bothered him enough to give him that. And I think there are ways of doing it. So
yeah, I totally agree with that. I was just going to read one out and it jumped. Electronic Firing Squad had an interesting comment. For the longest time, before I knew reselling was a thing other people did, I referred to what I did as pulling a reverse Robin Hood, buying from the poor and selling to the rich. I don't think it's necessarily buying from the poor, it's buying from the uneducated.
Well, I mean, you say that, and there are actually companies. There are companies set up that do that. That actually aim to buy from the poor or people in. I mean, like I said, there are companies out there that will offer to buy your house if you're in financial need. That is actually saying to people, our customer base is people that can't afford their mortgage anymore, but rather than risk losing their house and getting it repossessed, would rather sell it for under market value so we can buy it off them on the terms that we want because they're desperate, and then we're going to sell it for a massive profit.
Yeah. Well, do you remember there was a few years when everywhere it was, we'll buy your gold on TV.
Yeah.
Put your gold in an envelope.
Yeah.
And
Send it in.
They're not targeting people with loads of money. Their gold's going to stay in their jewelry box.
Exactly.
They're targeting people who
need their money,
who will cash it in for whatever they can get.
Yeah.
And can't be bothered to walk down to their local pawn shop and probably get more.
And businesses do this to each other as well, don't they? I mean, the business that I bought all this RC stuff from did exactly that. They closed down HMV, they closed down Model Zone. They didn't go in and pay anywhere near what this stuff is worth. I mean, judging by what they sold it to me for, I'm surprised they paid anything for it. I'm surprised they didn't actually just take it all for, for nothing. Because these guys, this business that I bought from, their job is to wind up failing businesses. Oh, yeah. When they go in there, they don't say, "Oh, I can see you guys are struggling, let me help you out." They go in there and say, "I can see you guys are struggling, this is what we're going to give you, this is all ours now, bye."
Yeah, I mean, if you want to have a discussion about the morals of business, that's where you want to look. Like Wall Street and Wolf of Wall Street, those sort of films. It's like there's no room for morals with those people.
And as Gordon Gekko said, greed is good.
Well, there you go. Right, let's dip in the chat. How are we doing for time? Oh,
it's already 7.
Okay, cool. Well, I've exhausted my list of topics, so that's good. Okay. Lucy T loves desperate parents because they will pay prices for certain toys, etc. Yeah.
And can I just say, Mr. Sadie says, I remember a time when I was struggling. I sold many things for a fraction for what it was worth and happy that someone bought it. And I can echo that comment. In the past, there have been many times when I, traded stuff in and sold stuff for way below what it was worth just to get hold of some cash. I don't begrudge it. I needed the money at the time. That's how I got the money. That's the end of it. I don't.
When we had our store, which was like a trade-in store, people would come in, and I was totally honest. At one point, I think we even had the kind of thing at the back, which said, for example, because people used to question my prices, it would be, if it sells in the store for a tenner, you're going to be offered £5 credit or £2.50 cash. It was half and half. Once you get beyond the tenner, it's slightly adjusted, and they were fine with that. So they knew that they were selling me a £10 game, for example, and they were going to get £2.50 if they opted for cash. And it didn't put anyone off. They were there because they needed money. And that's how CEX operates. That's how cash converters operate.
And you can't begrudge them. I mean, they're you know what? In a lot of people's eyes, they're a service. I mean, I remember once, like years ago, taking in a bunch of DVDs, literally all the DVDs I had, traded them into, I think it was at the time, CEX. And I didn't get much for them. I mean, this was at the time where DVDs were actually worth something as well, but I still didn't get like loads for them. It was like £2 for box sets that I'd paid like 18 or 20 quid for, or more even, but that's the price. They weren't robbing me. They were
what you were getting roughly when you walked in, and then you have the option when they say, "Okay, I've scanned those all in, Mr. Malik. I'm going to offer you 30 quid a lot." You have the option of walking out.
Nice, worth more.
Yeah, but to me, we had people. I had this argument. I mean, literally, sometimes a shouting argument from the customer saying, "You're ripping me off." I'm like, "No, if you don't like the price, you need to take your stuff
and go
and keep it. Or take it elsewhere, or put it online." If I was you, I said this to so many people. If I was you, I'd put it on eBay because you could get more for that. And I'd have this conversation. They'd get all arsey with me and even shout at me. 9 times out of 10, they'd still say, "Give me the money." After all of that, they'd blow hot and cold and be like shouting at me and abusing me, and then they'd say, "Oh, just give me the money." It's like, well, that was a waste of our time, wasn't it?
But yeah,
Oh, I'm glad I'm out of that. Actually, that part of it was really quite exhausting and
I can
stressful.
imagine. I mean, yeah, that sounds horrible to be shouted at like that.
I mean, the place was a gold mine and we did fantastically well out of it. But yeah, you have to really grow a thick skin to buy things direct over the counter in a shop. Man alive.
Yeah.
And yeah, anyway, we will just dip in the chat and have a quick look, and then I think we'll wrap this up because I need some food for a start. Okay. Are you going to do a fancy dress Halloween special? Ooh, I haven't even thought about Halloween yet. We'll have to see what day it falls on and whose channel we're going to be on.
My initial answer is no. Can I just put that out
there? Unlikely then, apparently.
I'm going for the Uncle Fester look anyway.
Yeah. Apparently little Johnny must be about 50 by now.
Oh gosh.
Okay. Oh, there's talk of, if there is a fancy dress Tat Chat, everyone has to participate and put pictures on the Tat Chat Facebook group before we go live.
That would be funny.
We might have to do it now. You don't.
Yeah, that sounds quite fun.
Just put a silly hat on. Okay. Well, we could literally. I think this subject we couldn't exhaust this. We'll have to revisit it at some point in the future. But that was good. Thanks ever so much for your comments and your opinions. As I said before, if you've got opinions that are different to ours, I encourage that. You know, we're not right, we're not wrong. It's just a chat about issues that we find, and I thought that was fun.
I'd say some people are wrong though. Can I just put that out there? I'd say they are wrong because they're not understanding the basics. They might not like it, but that's the system.
Let's put it this way: people are allowed to have an opinion that's different to ours. There we go.
It can be a wrong opinion. That's all. They can have it, but it's a wrong one because it's capitalism. It is the system. They might not like it.
Well, that's the thing. You are welcome to not like capitalism. You are welcome to not like reselling. You are welcome to not like me buying every CD I can get my hands on in a jumble sale.
Yeah,
it's fine.
But you like to do those things. I like to do those things, and we are allowed to do these things. So it's fine. Question from Jason Entwistle: what about the reseller hangout? Have you heard anything else off of David?
No, I haven't spoken to David. I don't know where he's at with organising it.
Going to be busy now, isn't he? This time of year, so
he'll be very busy with Q4. But as soon as I know more, or David has come up with some more concrete plans, you guys will be the first to know, either in a chat or on the Tat Chat group. So yeah, I have no further info. And going back, the must-have tour this Christmas, people were saying something about fingerlings.
Oh God, I don't know. I don't even. Funny thing is, after all this chat, I don't even get involved in any of this. The funny thing is, I just genuinely don't. But like I said, it's because
fingerlings. That's the first I've heard of whatever that is.
Oh, you better get in on those. Get those fingerlings.
I'm probably too late already. Anyway, on that bombshell, we'll wrap this up. Thanks for joining me, Zahir.
No, thank you for having me on the show.
And thanks for everybody commenting in the chat. We're just under 200 viewers at the moment, which is fantastic. If you enjoy these chats, let us know by leaving a thumbs up. If you're watching after the event, let us know your opinions on what we've just touched on. Let us know if you agree with us or you disagree with us. That's fine too.
If you agree with us or if you're wrong, those are the two options.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll be back on next chat will be Zahir's on Friday. You go live at 7.
Yeah.
And then we'll be back on Sunday for our Sunday hangout. I don't think we'll have a haul again. So I don't know what we're going to do on Sunday. Anyway, eBay message. Am I going to get a ka-ching? Come on. Oh no, it's a watched item. I'm trying to snipe ending. Okay.
Oh no, you're sniping. Oh, how could you do that?
Wait, is that immoral now? Damn it. Okay, thanks everyone. Take care and we'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.